Noche UFC, Diego Lopes, Jean Silva, featherweight, bad blood. Listen, folks, we got a fight on our hands. We got a main event, and we got a card that's slightly stacked. A lot to break down, but breaking it down with me, as always, is my co-host, the Santa Fe Bomber, the New Mexico native, AJ. Another episode of the Great Bloody Water podcast here, and we got some Mexican-themed fights, but we got two Brazilians headlining it, brother. What are we thinking?
Brother, I think what they're going with for this card right here is violence. They don't care who it is. As long as you're somewhat of another ethnicity, they're putting you on this card, and it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm excited. I'm out here in Austin, Texas. If the prices drop down a lot further than they are, because shame on you, UFC, I'm definitely going, brother. It's going to be a great card.
Yeah, bro. The brown people card right here. Put some respect, you feel me? Nah, I just think it's funny because, you know, I went to the inaugural event that happened out here in Vegas. And they're like, all right, now we're going to switch it up. We want to go to Mexico. Like, awesome. Like, if the logistics worked out, it would have been great. But this is supposed to be Dana White's, like, homage, if you will, to, like, a Mexican love letter. You know what I mean? These are about Mexican fighters. We're going to showcase them, showcase their spirit, their culture, all that. And then you look at, you got a couple Mexicans on there, you know what I mean? You got some Mexican Americans on there, but we ain't got the crop of the great Mexican fighters that we're used to seeing. It's all right because we still got some action headed your way. Again, this is really like a number one contenders fight right here between Jean Silva and Diego Lopes, right? Jean Silva, the quick uprising right here. He's knocking everybody out. He's barking at him. Diego Lopes, he dropped one to Volkanovski. That's all right. We're going to get back and we're going to see where the landscape shakes out from here. But before we do that, AJ, of course, let's go ahead and let's take a quick recap session. Now, we didn't air an episode last week for the UFC Paris card, but there were still some results that I would like to talk about here. So, now let me bring it up on the screen. Nasruddin Imavov gets a unanimous decision victory over Caio Borralho. Not super unexpected necessarily, right? But it just holds some implications. We know without a shadow of a doubt, I mean, nothing's really guaranteed, but Imavov has to be next for that middleweight strap, right? Like, it was a clear-cut performance.
Clear-cut performance, dominant, Derick. But is it the performance I think justified him to be that number one contender? The only reason I'd say yes is because there's not really anybody else up in line for it. And yeah, it was a dominant win, but was it a performance where everybody's going like, yeah, this is the guy, this is the next guy? I still think it left room for Imavov to improve more and show he is worth more to the UFC.
Don't get me wrong, everyone wants to see a big finish or just like a show-stopping performance, but to put on a dominant performance like that against Borralho, who is known to be able to make fights ugly, muddy, wrestle you up, grapple you up, couldn't do it against Imavov. There were some controversial eye pokes in there as well, but if you're not cheating, you're not trying. You know, the old Raiders homage right there. So listen, man, that's a big win for him. Got the hometown victory, but I think more importantly, let's talk about that co-main event right here, man. Benoit Saint-Denis gets back on track, and I shouldn't say back on track, but he becomes that menace that people still thought that he was, man. Against Mauricio Hufi, he halts the hype train. But AJ, he took the path of least resistance, which is what you're supposed to do when you have a skill set superior to somebody else. People are having a hard time understanding, was this just a fraud check by Hufi with just no grappling, or is Saint-Denis really good? He just ran into Dustin Poirier at the wrong time.
I'm going with the latter, Derick. He just ran into Dustin Poirier at the wrong time. Benoit Saint-Denis is a talent, and especially with how the sport is perceived in a what have you done for me lately scenario, Benoit Saint-Denis seems to have fallen out of a lot of people's graces, even out of their mind sight, really. They're not even looking at him anymore, where the new shiny toy was Mauricio Hufi, and he still does have a lot of promise to go for him going forward. I just think it's one of those, when you're good with the fans, everybody loves you. When you're bad, nobody does anymore. Kind of how the sport is coming.
Yeah, I mean, it was just kind of crazy how like the takedown defense or lack of takedown defense right there for Hufi. It's like, you got to know everybody is going to come and shoot and try to take you down. You're spinning head kicking these dudes' faces off. Like, listen, they're gonna try to hold you at all costs. And for Saint-Denis to be able to do that, even though he had some submission wins like early on in the career and that uprising, the violence weight man himself. BSD got it done. All right, one more really quickly here, man, and then we can just move on over to what really matters. But Modestas Bukauskas retires Paul Craig, buzzer beater, elbow KO. It was beautiful to see. But Paul Craig hangs it up, man. Any appreciation for the great Bear Jew Paul Craig? Any words of appreciation for his career?
Oh, 100%, Derick. The Bear Jew, Paul Craig, deserves some of the utmost respect right here. You want to talk about a guy who's always willing to answer the call, who doesn't matter who he's going to be facing, and to his demise or not, he's always going to stick to his game plan and be the fighter that he is best at being. That's Paul Craig, man. He's going to go in there, and if you sleep on Paul Craig, he will snap your arm, like we saw in the Jamal Hill fight. Like, this guy is a dog. He's a savage and a great fighter. It's good to see him leaving on his own terms like this.
With wins over Shogun Rua, wins over Jamal Hill, Nikita Krylov, Andre Muniz, like he had some good wins, but unfortunately that is what, four losses in a row, and that no contest. That, I mean, realistically, who knows how that fight would have went. But yeah, man, shout out to the great Paul Craig, but shout out to Modestas Bukauskas right there, brother. I mean, come on, what a streak the man is starting to rack back up. He's 19-6. Remember, this is his second run in the UFC, and that's a nice 4-fight win streak right there. So keep an eye out on him. The last note that I wanted to talk about on this card was that it was loaded up with finishes, man, as you can see. Knockouts all across the board. 9 knockouts, tied the all-time mark with 11 total finishes. So there was madness in France. They said it a million times on the broadcast. If you don't go to a Paris card, you're not seeing what real MMA is. So maybe we have to go update that visa, man. Head on over to the great country of France. All right, brother. Let's go ahead and let's talk about some sleepers right here, man.
Time for some fight night.
And if you ain't paying attention, you're gonna sleep on me and I'm gonna wake you up.
Noche UFC, folks. This week we're going with the finals of this year's The Ultimate Fighter for the sleeper section, folks. If you haven't been watching, shame on you. No, I'm just joking. I haven't watched all of it, but it has been a rough year for Uncle Chael, so go make sure you support. And actually, in fact, both of these fighters are from Team DC, so that's how rough this year's been going. We're talking about Rodrigo Cezinando versus Danny Donchenko, right? Cezinando, great pressure, especially when he's on the front foot. He has power in his hands, very much a DC style of fighter where he's going to be looking to wrestle, going to be looking to put the pressure and just work some ground and pound until he beats you up and really ends the fight. Same thing, basically copy paste for Donchenko. Arguably, he's a little bit better of a wrestler going in this and has a little bit less of a polished striking, but man, it's basically tit for tat in these two going forward. What you need to know, folks, both these gentlemen have shown that they have great promise and growth through the entire show of The Ultimate Fighter, and they're in the prime position to be able to prove their skills to the brass that they need to be invested even more into going forward. 17 combined finishes between these two, the majority of them being KOs. Donchenko has like 8 KOs, whereas Rodrigo has a 4. So there's very KO heavy, even though they are ground style fighters. Like I said, they're going to both be looking to dominate, take control, beat the other one up, and get this fight finished so that way they can go home and take their prize. This one's going to be a very, very fun fight, folks. Do not miss this one.
80% finish rate combined, man. Somebody better get stopped in this one. Somebody better get finished, folks. But that is your sleeper. So again, watch out for that. For real. That's going to be a good one. All right, man. Let's go ahead and let's bring up the main card right here.
Here's to another main card breakdown, courtesy of your hosts, Derick G and AJ.
Diego Lopes versus Jean Silva. Again, Brazilian on Brazilian crime in the main event for a Mexico card, but we'll take it nonetheless. All right, AJ. Question number 1 right here. When it comes down to Diego Lopes and it comes down to his wicked style, right? Big puncher. He's huge for the division, so that's already going to be a little bit of a interesting dynamic in this fight right here. But he has one very, very clear deficiency in his game. Some would say that it's the entire camp that he trains with, their major flaw. And I want to know how you think that this is going to be impacted by Jean Silva. But Silva, footwork, movement, owning the center of the cage, awesome. Diego Lopes, cutting off the cage, seems to be a little bit of a lack there. He seems to be following across, which allows him to not get the volume off that could potentially win him fights. You just got to throw a little bit more. How is cutting off the cage going to be a problem here for Lopes against Silva?
Well, especially with the confidence and almost the reckless approach that Jean Silva brings, if you're going to keep following the fighter the entire time and how quick and fast and powerful he is, he's going to be counter-striking you when you're not in an optimal position. So especially cutting things off, making sure you're corralling him into a place where you can have that upper hand, that's going to be the best place for Diego Lopes to be, excuse me. How's it going to be detrimental though, man? We've seen Diego Lopes, especially when he's kind of put up against adversement, right? He is faced with that little bit of struggle. He tends to sit there and wait to see what you're going to do, so that way he's able to go forward, leading to more following. And I don't know if he's going to be the prime example of being able to cut that corner and actually step off to the side to stop Jean Silva from moving.
And every time that I think about this matchup, when I'm watching the film, I'm looking at where is Jean Silva the most explosive, and it's in those counters, right? It's when somebody's sitting down on a shot. His power is just ridiculous. The way that you're seeing people drop when he hits them. I don't know if it's perfect placement. I don't know if it's just uncanny power at 145 pounds. But when he's touching people, they're not particularly eating it. Now, I do respect Diego Lopez's chin. I think he's going to be really durable in this fight. We'll talk about that more in a second. But really, it comes down to Diego Lopez. When he gets hit and he wants to hit back, he sits down and he'll throw 3. You know what I mean? And he'll sit there, chin in the middle, and just kind of swing them out. That really worries me from a Jean Silva perspective of being able to just land that one on the temple, crack him on the chin, pull a Charles Jourdain, where he just has that collar tie, hits him with the uppercut, a step in elbow. Just any of those tools seems to be problematic if Diego Lopez is just caught following the whole time. I don't really see him trying to wrestle too much in this matchup, and him using his length he's not really that style of fighter. He wants to be aggressive. So what can he do to mix this up for Jean Silva, who doesn't have the highest output himself?
Yeah, that's exactly where he needs to take advantage of it, Derick. Find the moments in the chaos, because if we know one thing Jean Silva is going to be bringing, it's chaos to this fight, my man. He's going to be putting the pressure on you. He's going to be trying to be a showman, hands down, talking, making this a Jean Silva fight who we're used to seeing. And in those moments when Jean Silva finds that little bit of break, that's when Diego Silva needs to push that pace, gain that control, and find those moments. That's where he's going to find the biggest success right here, even if he can, and that leads to somewhat of a knockdown or gain control over position, nullifying Jean Silva's strength, especially going forward later into the rounds as the fight goes. That's going to be key for him in this fight.
Yeah, it's going to sound silly, man, but I just think that Lopez needs to really avoid standing tall and fighting at mid-range, which is hard because he's the taller fighter he's good at mid-range. You know what I mean? I just think you got to avoid that in this fight here against Lopez. Now, I do think grappling can come into play here. Don't get me wrong. I don't think Diego Lopez is going to be shooting blast doubles necessarily. He's got great jiu-jitsu. Wrestling is a different story. But we've seen Jean Silva be taken down before and held down. We've seen it. And I think that that's an easy way to rack up points isn't the right word to say, because you never know these days if just sitting on somebody and holding them is going to get you the same credit that it has in other fights in different areas of the country. But I think that you kind of want to mitigate the power of Silva as much as possible. Is that the correct approach? Grapple?
Yeah, I mean, when the position or when the opportunity presents itself, 100%, Derick, because one of the things I like most about Jean Silva's style, as indomitable as he is, his biggest thing is he's looking to break you down physically and mentally, especially mentally, that latter one, where he is just trying to impose his will and have you think there's no shot of you even winning this fight. Might as well just end it early. Like, might as well go home with it. That's one big thing that Jean Silva likes to bring to the cage. And if he's not able to do that against Diego Lopez, or I mean, if he is, it's obviously going to be good for him. But that's the thing Jean Silva can do to be able to get that drive going.
Yeah, I mean, Lopez, he's going to be dangerous all fight long. We know if there's one thing that he carries the entire fight, it's power, and he definitely can crack. And I think he can crack Silva. He could put Silva in real jeopardy right here. But when we take a look at the line, I'm curious to know what you think. Currently, minus 220 favorite for Jean Silva, plus 185 comeback for Diego Lopez. Personally, I think it's you kind of want to pass on just a money line bet right here. Maybe wait for something live for the price to come up a little bit better, unless you're on Lopez and then you just jump all over a dog. But how are you assessing this?
Yeah, if you're looking at Lopez, and I'm let the cat out of the bag, Derick, I am looking at Lopez. I'm rocking with that underdog. I like the money line right here. If you are looking for something along the points or something for better, if you're a Jean Silva better right here, even Jean Silva by points, they don't see him winning this at plus 430. It's looking more like the odds makers are looking for the under. They're looking at the Jean Silva by TKO at plus 105, and the over under. I mean, it is favored towards that early finish Silva style of fight.
Yeah, no, that's fair right there. 2.5 rounds is what I'm tracking for the total right now. That's not what you got?
Yeah, I got 3.5 over here on
3.5?
FanDuel.
Okay.
Yeah, but
Yeah. I'm tracking 2.5, minus 150 for the over, plus 120 for the under. And at that number right there, I really like that over. What do you think?
At that number right there, I really like that over, Derek. That's really interesting, folks. So make sure you check out what sport book you're looking at. I have over 3.5 at the under, or at the plus money. So plus 108 for the over right here. And especially if you're looking at a 2.5 at the over at minus money. I mean, that over is starting to make a lot of sense right there.
No, you're right. So let's just try. I'll just take this number from FanDuel then. We'll just look straight from here. And yeah, 3.5 plus 108 minus 138 for the under. What's your final play on that one, man? Because I think I'm still leaning the over, and here's why. I think Jean Silva can hurt Diego Lopes. I think he could finish Diego Lopes. So I'll let the cat out the bag too. Let's go ahead and put it up on the screen. But I think Lopes is going to be more durable than not, man. I think he's going to extend this fight out, even if this fight does go to a finish. I wouldn't be surprised to see this one go to points, to be completely real with you, because Diego Lopes, he has heart, man. If he has anything, he has heart. We haven't seen Jean Silva be in a position to have to showcase that heart, but I think this one gets extended a little bit further, regardless of which side of the coin you're playing.
Well, I actually 100% agree with you, Derek. I like the over the most in this, especially at plus money with the heart and the style we've seen over Diego Lopes, not only in his last fight against Volkanovski, but also his entire career. I agree with you. It's going to take a lot to put him out unless Jean Silva just cold cocks him to sleep. I think this one is the over is a good bet.
All right, well, there you have it, folks. It's contentious, it's split, but if there's something that we like right here, it's over 3.5 rounds, according to FanDuel at plus 108. That's your main event. Now let's go ahead and let's start shooting through the remainder of these ones here, AJ. All right, sorry, that's not the page. Here we go. Co-main event right here, man. Short notice, no problem. Rob Font gets a very dangerous opponent on short notice, David Martinez, but you could say vice versa. David Martinez, you get to jump up in competition, baby. Rob Font, Puerto Rico's own, coming off of 2 wins that are basically setting the table for what this story is, right? Kyler Phillips, John Matsumoto. That means you derailed 2 hype trains after you were already written off. After you lost to Corey Sandhagen and Davison Figueiredo, they wrote him off, but he went and showed. And they're both by decision that when it comes down to taking out this crafty veteran, you're going to have to put him out of there. You know what I mean? Or just have a really dominant decision victory. You know, one of the two. But David Martinez, AJ, if you remember, I've been high on Martinez. When he came in his UFC debut against Simon Oliveira, I don't know if I had knockout in the first round, but I was very high on Martinez to win this fight. I think he's a 5-star prospect, if you will. I don't even know if that's the right verbiage to use. I think this kid's going to be really, really, really good. But on short notice against Rob Font, I have some pause right here. And seeing him as close as a plus 110 dog, almost even money right here, if you push it far enough, I don't know, man. I don't know if he deserves that number yet. I don't know if we've seen enough. I think Rob Font's still getting disrespected. Set the table for us. How you see it?
I think Rob Font is getting disrespected too, Derek. I mean, I think what comes into play a lot in my mind right here is the age. You got a 38-year-old Rob Font who, in the eyes of the bettors, has already been written off once. It's just a matter of time until he's written off again. And especially with how good the Black Spartan David Martinez is, man, this is his night. You know, this is Mexican Heritage Pride Month, right? This is I see all the favor and all the momentum and everything going towards the David Martinez. But again, like you said just previously, Rob Font just took out 2 dudes who had all the momentum, who had everything going for them. So I'm interested to see why it's so close, because I would have given Rob Font right around that 250 mark, especially when I looked at this first.
Yeah. And so let's talk about strategy and game plan here. Rob Font, what's he going to do? You know what he's going to do, man. He's going to jab your face off. He's going to come at you hard with 1-2 straight shots. Sitting in the pocket is really going to be the biggest problem here against Martinez, because as cliche as this sounds, this is going to be, in my opinion, minutes versus moments. Rob Font will win the minutes. David Martinez can win the moments that wins the fights. And that's really where Rob Font loses a lot of these fights, where he's fully in control, but then you get dropped at the end of a round, or you get hit with a big shot. He just doesn't react well, which is why people were saying, oh, your chin is gone, you're shot. He's shown otherwise, right? But I think that David Martinez, his best shot is to be that springy athlete. You see in the Contender Series fight the most. And I think maybe he was just super excited to go, man. But he's sitting there and you could feel the tenseness. He's bouncing up and down and he's throwing shots, spinning head kicks, big right hands, everything, the whole entire 9. And I think Rob Font is crafty enough of a veteran to have seen this stuff before, man, and maintain distance properly. But when it comes down to power, I just think that's really it for David Martinez. Power, and I would say he is probably slightly a faster fighter than Rob Font at this stage of his career.
At this stage of your career, I definitely agree with that, Derek. The one thing I think David Martinez is going to need to exploit in this is those low kicks. Anytime Rob Font is blasting that jab, because we know that's what he's going to do, just be pumping that jab out there, attack those low kicks with powerful chopping shots. That's going to be providing holes that he's going to see. But again, Rob Font, the crafty veteran, you're going to have to not only iterate once, you're going to have to iterate 2-3 more times if you're David Martinez in this fight to get it to where you're not going to be, or you're going to be able to win that decision or put yourself in a position to get that knockout later on in the fight.
And let's take into account as well right here, because I mentioned this was short notice, but this was supposed to be Raul Rosas versus Rob Font. So you have a kind of completely different style fighter that you're training for on the short notice side for David Martinez. He was actually already training for a fight, and it was going to be, I think, it was going to be soon. I don't know if it was going to be on the same exact card or if it was on a different card. But the point is he was already in camp. So I don't think it's going to be like cardio issues. He's ready to go. It's just a quick switch in opponents right here. When it comes down to the intangibles, Rob Font taller, Rob Font a lot longer right here. So stay at that mid-range, box his face off, and you could probably get a dub. But let's actually talk the numbers right here. Rob Font, in my opinion, at -130, or if we go ahead and pull up method of victory, Rob Font by points, +140 right here by points. I love that number right there, brother. I think that you're seeing a little bit of that, like, all right, well, if Rob Font gets it done, that's generally speaking how he's going to get it done. But what does it mean to you that David Martinez is +200 by points and a +110 dog?
I think it goes back to what you were saying earlier, Derek, moments versus minutes. More consistently, Rob Font will win the decision fight. That's why his is at +140. Whereas David Martinez, if he is going to win that fight and not get a finish, it's going to be because we're getting the oohs and ahs 3, 4, 5 times throughout every individual round, ending on a strong note. And I think that's where he comes in to win that. That's why I think they're so close. And I actually agree with that, because I do think David Martinez, I don't see him. Well, I see him being in the position to find a knockout, to get a finish right here. I don't see him actually getting it done. So I like the decisions are very, very close in a point contest right here.
All I'm saying is David Martinez has 10 knockout victories, 2 decisions, and his knockout prop is +500. His decision prop is +200. Now, Rob Font on the other end of things has never been knocked out in the UFC or in his entire MMA career. He has been submitted once, though, right? So something to think about. I think there's a wrestling route for David Martinez as well, but the final play right here is going to be the totals over 2.5 rounds. If you're a Rob Font bettor, I think it's safe to say you I don't know if you take that. It's -330. I mean, that's pretty steep right there. I'd really rather just take Rob Font on points personally. But I think you're going to say this fight is going to go over 2.5 rounds. That's the pick, not the bet. What are you thinking?
Absolutely. The pick, if you're not settled on either or fighters, the pick right here is that over at 2.5. I'm rocking right with you though, Derek. I got Rob Font by decision. I think he's going to put on a show, not a master class in how he goes about things. I do think David Martinez is going to provide a lot of turmoil in this fight. We're going to see a lot of things right here, but I do think Rob Font gets it done.
All right, fair play. Shout out to Rob Font. Going to have to keep another prospect here down, but I would not be surprised again. I think this is a fair bet. Rob Font, consensus across the board right here. But David Martinez is very good. We just got to see if he's up to this task right here, because this is a steep jump in opposition right here. All right, man. Next up, let's see who we got. Rafa Garcia. All right. Now we're working on this Mexico card right here against Jared Gordon. All right, AJ, when I was breaking down this fight, I didn't like it. I thought that this could be a prelim fight right here. Not to be disrespectful whatsoever to these athletes, but I just think their styles are going to counteract each other right here. You got Rafa Garcia, who wants to be in your face, who wants to chain wrestle. He could box. You maybe don't want to have him, prolonged, extended minutes boxing, but Jared Gordon is going to be very technical, stand up in your face. He's found some power as of late, being able to put some people away and work that clinch, anti-wrestling game. I just think they're going to counteract each other, and it's probably going to be a boring fight, but there still is money to be made. I just have to start off with this before we get into any assessment. Jared Gordon is a -235 favorite over Rafa Garcia, which I thought was slightly surprising. Don't get me wrong. Jared Gordon's good. He's been on the wrong end of some decisions, but that's the problem. Sometimes the fights get a little closer than he intends them to be. So for him to be such a big favorite, what are your thoughts initially on this matchup?
I think they're hating on our boy Rafa Garcia, Derek. Don't get me wrong. I expected Jared Gordon to also be the favorite right here. Although I was thinking like a -120, -115 kind of around their play for Jared Gordon going in this. But even with the last fight that Rafa Garcia had against Vince Pichel, like he did show he is still who we think he is as a fighter, right? Rafa Garcia is still very dangerous. He's still very game. But I do think the tendencies of him needing and almost being forced to get on the inside to do where he does his best work is going to play right into Jared Gordon's hands, man. Like you said, that clinch work, the stuff he has going for him, Jared Gordon's going to have a lot of opportunities to choose where he wants to take this fight.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like who can be in the driver's seat right here? Because Rafa Garcia wants to pressure you. He wants to get your back against the cage. But Jared Gordon, on the other hand, has no problem playing that style, right? So it's just going to come down to like the extended minutes boxing. That's the thing that really worries me the most. We know Rafa Garcia is tough. Remember that fight against, was it Mahashate, where he got the cut artery and his face was gushing, right? If I remember correctly, he won the fight. Yeah, he still won the fight, man. So he's tough, and you're going to have to put this dude away. He's only been knocked out once, never been submitted right here. Jared Gordon, on the other hand, coming off of that knockout victory against Diego Moises. AJ, talk to me. How does that impact the style of fight that we see from Jared Gordon? Because it was a tit-for-tat boxing match at that moment until Thiago Lopes threw that left hook and just got countered, smacked in his temple, and got dropped right here. Are we going to see a little bit more of a proactive Jared Gordon who wants to push the pace a little bit?
I don't know, Derek. I don't know if we're going to see him initiating, pushing the pace, especially because that's what we like, or that's what Rafa Garcia likes to do, is get out there and really start getting the pressure to get to the inside part of the fight. But what I do think we're going to see Jared Gordon is using that pressure, using that violence, and willing to let Rafa Garcia in, sit in that pocket, and then find those moments. So if Rafa's going to bring the same kind of violence we saw in that Diego Moises fight, where it's just going to be all pressure from the jump, I don't think Jared Gordon has any problem sitting there willing to throw the ones and twos and find the same kind of finish he did in his last fight.
Okay, that's fair. So I think this is a pretty straightforward matchup right here. The better striker is going to be Gordon. The guy who has an opportunity to wrestle is going to be Rafa Garcia. And he did pick up Vince Pichel and put him over his shoulder. So who's to say that he can't do that to Jared Gordon right here? But when it comes down to it, the actual power threat, I do think it comes more from Gordon than it does from Rafa Garcia. I'm not sure if Rafa Garcia is going to be the one to knock him out. So again, another situation where it's minutes versus moments right here, but Jared Gordon is generally speaking going to win the minutes here. Yeah, and that's pretty much all that I got on this one. So I would say this. I think Jared Gordon at his money line price right now on FanDuel, at least, which is minus 250, is it's a little steep right here. You tell me though, AJ, are you comfortable playing a line this steep on Jared Gordon, or do you think that there's other plays at hand? Because I could go ahead and I could pull up the methods, and Jared Gordon by points is minus 115. And I think that's much more reasonable.
That's where I was leaning, Derek. Jared Gordon by points minus 115 makes all the sense, because I don't agree that he's that big of a favorite, right? The minus 250, I still see a lot of opportunities where Rafa Garcia is going to be able to find those moments in the fight and be able to win at least a round, right? The end of a couple rounds, whatever the case, and who knows how the fight's actually be going. So personally, I like Jared Gordon by points. I think he's going to win the majority of the fight right here. And I mean, I think the odds makers see it as well at minus 115.
And here's your correlation. Over 2.5 rounds, minus 310. Jared Gordon by points, minus 115. Rafa Garcia by points, plus 400. So they either think he's gonna knock out Jared Gordon, or Jared Gordon wins this on points. I think that that's a pretty fair play right there. So it's safe to say, consensus pick, Jared Flash Gordon. All right, man. Next up, AJ, who do we got here? Oh, we got none other than his own Kelvin Gastelum versus Dustin Stoltzfus right here. All right, man. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. I want to open this up by saying I was watching film. I was looking at the fight, and I was like, there's no way I'm betting on Kelvin Gastelum. Again, there's no way. I can't do it. And then I watched the film, and I was like, I might be betting on Kelvin Gastelum. Yes, you lost to Joe Pyfer in your last one. Yes, you lost to Sean Brady. You got out wrestled. Jared Cannonier, Robert Whitaker of the such. Yes, you beat Daniel Rodriguez. So there's something to say there. But AJ, I look at Dustin Stoltzfus, who has been very inconsistent, as you can see. Look at it, literally alternating wins and losses since 2022. But what Joe Pyfer had in that fight to win against Kelvin Gastelum was the nuclear option. Dustin Stoltzfus does not have the nuclear option here. I actually, aside from wrestling, which he's no Sean Brady, he's very good, but he's no Sean Brady, I don't know what the path is here, because I think Gastelum's a better striker. I think he's probably faster, even at his extended age, and he's a veteran that you can't quite just discount yet. As much as it pains me to say, because I've been burned so many times by this man. What do you think?
I think the best option, Derek. Well, one, I want to say, yes, I'm with you. I literally had the exact same thought. Not a chance in the world am I betting on Gastelum. I've seen this before. We've said this before. And yet here he is making me pause and consider what's actually happening, Derek. But for Dustin Stoltzfus, the main path, the main way I see him actually going and able to win this fight is just controlling that distance with the front foot, man. Make the little guy not be able to touch you and just keep him at bay and just keep this a technical point show. Because we know Calvin Gastelum, he has to get on the inside. He's going to be throwing the big winging shots to be able to try and just touch your chin. So that way he can change the momentum and get this fight going in his favor. But if Dustin Stoltzfus is just able to keep kickboxing range, just keep him at bay with that lead side kick he likes to use, there's a lot of time for him to be able to then find another option to work that isn't just getting in Calvin Gastelum's range and hoping for the best.
And it's a fair point to say that for Dustin Stoltzfus, look at his losses. Guys that have fight-ending options. Ruziboyev, Bruno Ferreira, Abus Magomedov, right? All dudes who have fight-ending options right there. And you have to ask yourself at this... Bro, I was going to say at the steep age, 33 years old for Kelvin Gastelum, the man feels like he's 45, but you got to think, what fight-ending options does Gastelum have at this point? Because we have to really go back to find the last time that he won a fight. In the last 5-6 years, he has not won a fight by finish, right? He has six TKOs, 6 subs, but you might as well just throw those out because it's all decisions in the last X amount of years right here. So Kelvin Gastelum has to win this fight on points on paper, right? That's the discussion we're having on paper. He has to win this fight by points. And I think, again, if you're able to go to a split decision with Nasrat Haqparast, which did he? Or am I thinking about somebody else? I am thinking he looks like Nasrat Haqparast. That's the problem that I'm having. All right, listen, throw that analysis to the side. I just think he's a better striker, and I hear your analysis about Stoltzfus staying on the front foot, but consistency issues appears to be the problem. Mental lapses for Stoltzfus, who can never quite put it together, even when he's winning the beginnings of a fight. So that's the finale of my analysis here. Do you have anything else on this matchup?
The big thing I think right here, Derek, that's going to come into it all, because both these fighters are stuck in their ways at the career they're at and the age they are in the UFC. Who's going to be the mental dog? Who's going to be the bigger one in there? And who's going to stay solid on their game plan and their mental fortitude? I think that's Calvin Gastelum, and that's why I'm actually rocking with him, dog. Calvin Gastelum by points. It's the only real victory or only real path to decision that's going to happen more often than not, I think. So I like Calvin Gastelum in this fight, man.
And let's also, me too. And let's just also point out right here, I stay away from this number right here. Minus 280 Kelvin Gastelum. That's why when I was like, dude, am I betting on Gastelum? And then I saw the odds. I was like, there's no way. Who priced this, first off? But second off, if you're going to take something, plus 155, Kelvin Gastelum by points. What other option do you have? What other option do you have, bro? And that makes no sense to me. I think this is the steal of a century, especially if he can get it done, because Stoltzfus by points plus 310. Come on, brother. Somebody, it's going to go to a decision. I don't see a finish happening in this fight. You can't convince me otherwise until it actually happens. So there's your analysis. Kelvin Gastelum is your pick. All right, let's keep this train rolling right here, man. All right, Alexander Hernandez versus Diego Ferreira. I don't know why, but if you go on FanDuel right now, this fight isn't even on the card for whatever reason. So I don't know if there's something weird happening in the background, but we're going to break down the fight for what it's worth. And for Alexander Hernandez right here, man, listen. Good form as of late. You can't deny it. 3 victories. Got the knockout win over Chase Hooper, which in hindsight, now that I look back on it, I think it was a pretty poor game plan by Chase Hooper more than it was being impressed by Alexander Hernandez, because I didn't watch that fight in real time. So I only watched the replay of it. And when I went back to watch film, I was like, man, I wanted to be so much more impressed with Alexander Hernandez, but I'm just not getting it. And that's not a knock to him. It's just more of, you saw how Chase Hooper fought, and you're like, oh, that was kind of silly. Diego Ferreira, on the other hand, we've seen this story play out a million times, man. Old, crafty veteran. And when I mean old, I actually mean it this time. 40 years old right here, crafty veteran. And listen, you got some wins, you got some losses, but you're going to stick around until the end unless you get finished right here. And Hernandez has not been the most exquisite finisher in his career as of late. So talk to me, brother. Hernandez, does he deserve to be look at that. It's actually even money right now. I think he had a much higher line when I looked at it last. Even money right here, minus 113 a pop. What's the play?
Yeah, Derek, this is an interesting one, and I want to go back to what you were saying earlier about Hernandez because I'm with you. I as much as I possibly can want to be an Alex Hernandez fan. There's so much going against it that it makes it really, really hard. Like this guy came out with such heat, such ferocity that you're like, man, this guy's going to be a star. And then we really started to see where his career has started to kind of be unstable, if you will. But I do think he's showing a lot more promise and a lot more poise now that he's getting to be a little bit older of a fighter. And we're starting to see him come into his second gear, if you will, his moment where he's forming into an actual legitimate fighter now instead of not just a brawler. And I think we're going to be able to see that technique, that skill, that poise that I'm talking about put on display and not be outcrafted by the crafty veteran that we have in Diego Ferreira right here. Because yeah, I mean, he is, like you said, 40 years old against 32 and a grizzled 32, well, grizzled both of them, but Alexander Hernandez, who's been put through the fire. This is another really good fight to prove to Alexander Hernandez that he is in the space where he needs to be. And especially being a tweener in between lightweight and 145, this guy needs to be able to find footing in any kind of ground where he can actually drive forward.
Well, this is what's interesting to me right here. Hernandez needs to play the range and distance game, but you need to balance that with the proverbial running, right? Because he moves a lot. And you would think just stay solid, stay on that front foot and start attacking, right? But that's going to be Diego Ferreira's game plan. And given that Ferreira does not care if this fight goes to the ground. He wants scrambles. He wants to wrestle a little bit, and he wants to get on the inside and trade in the pocket right here. So I think that perception-wise, this could be a Diego Ferreira fight to win right here. Make it ugly, get inside, and make it look like Hernandez is just running for 15 straight minutes while landing a little bit more of the effective shots. If you look, they're landing at a very similar clip, about 45% for both. Yeah, Ferreira, he lands a little bit more right here. Defense is on par as well, but I just think it comes down to what the scrambles end up looking like, who gets tired. We've had cardio issues on both sides of the spectrum right here, but yeah, like I said, when it comes down to having that extra X factor to be able to walk forward and to have perception from the judges and from the fans and getting the oohs and ahs, I think that this is a Diego Ferreira fight to win for sure.
Yeah, I can see where you're at, Derek. This is actually one I was going back and forth on pretty frequently. I think if you're a Hernandez better right here, the one thing we're going to be looking to see him do is use his speed, use his athleticism, and the pressure and volume that he's going to be able to put. Because if you give Diego Ferreira a chance to play the game that he likes, where he's like, you shoot or you throw some punches, I throw some punches, you throw some punches. We play tag basically back and forth, where he's going to get the better of those exchanges. You're in for a hard time, but if you don't let off the gas tank and you just put the pressure on Diego Ferreira with the speed Hernandez presents, I see that being a big challenge for Ferreira. So if you're Hernandez, you want to bet on that youth, you want to bet on that perseverance you have and be able to really push the game plan where we've seen your trajectory as a fighter being growing towards that direction.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Fair takes right here. The last part that I'm going to leave with before we give our pick on this one is just look at the losses between these two, and it's two completely different calibers right here, man. For Ferreira, it's Beneil Dariush, Gregor Gillespie, shout out to an OG, Mateus Gamrot, and Grant Dawson. For Hernandez, Billy Quarantillo, Bill Algeo, Damon Jackson. You know what I'm saying? It's just different. It's different. So when you come down to the skill set, the opposition, if Hernandez can win and win in impressive fashion right here, all right, 4 fights in a row, we're really running it. But the last 2 wins against Kurt Holobaugh and Austin Hubbard doesn't impress me enough to say that, I think I can give you a clear edge against Ferreira. The Chase Hooper win, that was a good win, though. Regardless of game plans or whatever, that was a good win. So with that being said, the pick is in. And it's contentious right here. I'm going to rock with the OG, the 40-year-old, which you never really want to do at this weight class, but I'm going to rock with him. 155, Diego Ferreira. And you're rolling with the great ape, Alexander Hernandez. All right, man. I think we got one more here on the main docket. And yeah, we got Santiago Luna, UFC debut. I think they just snuck him on here, so we need a little bit more Mexican love right here, versus Kwang Lee. And AJ, man, this is going to be an interesting fight right here. I'm curious to know. I know that you're a little high on Santiago Luna right here. Tell me what pops off the page when you watch his film.
Ooh, aggressiveness, Derick. This boy is bringing the fight. You want to talk about it, man. We were saying before that Mexican heritage. We have a Mexican fighter right here who's going to be bringing that aggressiveness, looking to get in your face. And you can see it even when he's fighting, he's mean, he's mad, he's in there, he's looking to hurt his opponent. That's one thing that pops off the page for me, man. I really love this boy coming in here. Border boy, too. He's proud of where he's from. It's going to be a very fun fight between these two.
Yeah, man. And let's not forget, he's bounced between featherweight and bantamweight right here, man. So fighting this one at 135, hopefully we'll wait. Everything goes according and all that good stuff. But yeah, man, he's got it all, right? He's got big power. He can put the backpack on you. He can grapple. He can do a little bit of everything. Now, Kwang Lee, I was actually slightly impressed by him. Now, you have not had the greatest run thus far, right? You lost to Chris Gutierrez, Xiaolong. You got that submission win over Gaston Bolaños, and that just goes to show that he's racked up a little bit of experience, got some of those jitters out the way, and when it comes down to putting on a grappling clinic, like the man can do it, man. He's averaging 3 takedowns per 15 minutes. Not a good accuracy, 35% accuracy, but the point is he has like a game plan and he knows how to get there. The question is really going to become here, can Luna stave it off? Can he do anti-jiu-jitsu, anti-wrestling right here, keep it standing, and then take him out? I don't know. That's a great question. But I thought it was just interesting him being a debutant right here and being minus 138 favorite, plus 108. No love for the OG, for the man who's got some experience right here. What do you think?
I think what did it, Derick, or at least in my eyes, what kind of made me think Luna was going to be the favorite right here was the style in which they're kind of both going for it, right? Like when you're presented with being able to fight the way you want to fight. We've seen Kwang Lee have a little bit more of a reserved, a little bit more patient. I'm going to see how things are going. I'm going to attack on what's best analyzed from what I'm able to see and gather. Yeah. Whereas Santiago Luna, he's just going in there for blood. He's gonna no matter what, he's just gonna demolish. That is his goal. And I think that's where a lot of people are looking for Santiago Luna to be the one pushing the pressure, putting the violence on the pace. And if Kwang Lee is able to find those moments, that's where I think he's going to be able to turn the tide of the fight. But really, man, this is an interesting one to see how things are handled once the fight actually gets going, and then get those jitters out, because they're both, as much as Kwang Lee has had a couple fights in the UFC, they're both still very, very new to this, and especially a big octagon, a big event now that is UFC Noche. There's a lot of pressure on this fight.
Yeah, no, fair. But to counteract that point right here, my biggest takeaway for the danger zone for Luna was getting over aggressive on the feet. You know what I mean? Overextending on an entry. And then that's where Lee come in and try to take the back. You know what I mean? So it's a matter of who can implement their game plan and who can get to it first. It's pretty much as simple as that. But I think that this is going to be a one that if we can't agree on Victor, I think that we may be able to agree on total. I currently have it right here. Let me pull it up. Sorry. Let me see the total. Yeah, 2.5. Minus 140 for the over, plus 110 for the under. I like the over. I think this one gets extended. How do you see it?
I initially run off the jump, Derick. I like the over as well, but then that made me curious. Like, what are the method of victories right here? And none of them are at a plus 100 or below, or so. Even 230 seems to be the best odds you're going to get, and that's Luna by points. To me, it doesn't even seem like the odds makers know exactly what's going to go on. So I do think the safest bet right here is that over, especially if you can't choose one or the other. So this is going to be an interesting fighting telling for the career of both of these fighters going forward.
Absolutely. And again, this one is contentious right here, so we'll let the cat out the bag. I'm rocking with Kwang Lee, AJ rocking with Luna, and I'm going to even say this. Maybe sprinkle a little bit on where is it at? Submission. Kwang Lee by sub plus 470. Sprinkle a little something right there. I think that's something to play with, something to tinker with. You got any additional plays? Or are you good on this one?
Ooh, if you're rocking with me, folks, you're going Santiago Luna. If you don't like the money line, I'm going with the points. Plus 230 makes the most sense, although we can see a plus 420 knockout. I'm not willing to put a lot of money on that one, though. So maybe sprinkle, like Derick was saying, a little bit on it. But if you're looking for a smarter bet, points or money line is the way to go right here.
All right, folks. Well, that is your main card breakdown. Noche UFC, 6 fights. Should be some good ones right there. You got your plays, you got your totals, you got your bets. But we need to give you the best bets of the week. So in order to do that, we're going to take off the main card docket. And AJ, I'm going to go ahead and we're just going to open it up for the full entire book right here. You got yourself a best bet. Go ahead, talk to the people what you got.
Best bet right here, folks. Alessandro Costa versus Alden Correa at under 2.5 at minus money, folks. That's right, an under at minus money. We've seen a lot, and especially because there's a late replacement in Correa right here. Alessandro Costa has been grinding his way through the UFC and losing opponents for this fight in specific, man, left and right. This is his third replacement, and he brings in the UFC newcomer Alden Correa. He's at 10-3 and has proven he can handle the himself, especially in the amateurs, right? Well-rounded, likes to counter, likes to get down and scrap. This boy brings a lot of fun and fight to the actual environment, but on paper, Costa should be able to exploit all the holes that Correa are going to be presenting. Expect him to pressure, blitz in with the volume, and try and trap Correa. It was really especially just to beat him up, right? At a minus 420 favorite, folks, he is expected to put away Correa, and at best value right here, minus 118 for the under. And I mean, the odds makers are just backing it up. I think the fight not to go the finish is minus 156. So they see a finish happening, especially with the big favorite. The best place to make money right here is that under at 2.5 at minus 118. What do you think, Derek?
I think that's a good play right there. I mean, that's a violence guy right there, Alessandro Costa. So I'm always down for a finish on that one. And I got a little something for you too, because you're in the mood for some violence. I am too, right here. So let me go ahead and pop up what I got, man. Zachary Reese versus Cedricus Dumas right here. As soon as you hear the word Zachary Reese, when you hear that name, you should automatically think someone's going to bed early, submission, knockout, whatever it is. So my pick is pretty straightforward right here. I like under 1.5 rounds in this fight. Both fighters have a combined finish rate of 68.9% right here. 9 knockouts, 4 submissions combined, 11 first round finishes combined between these fighters. Listen, they're both fast starters, high volume, wins and losses really skew to chaos in the fights. Late round one-ish right here. So it's just a matter of pace and urgency right here. Nobody's like a minute winner. Neither of these fighters are like, I just want to rack up minutes. They're both looking for a finish. And when you risk it, sometimes you get finished. So somebody's going to bed. It's a matter of how it's going to get done. But AJ, I got an additional sprinkle that I wanted to play right here. Zach Reese is a minus 210 favorite right here. I just saw an image, and listen, he's been able to kind of like work his own. But Cedricus Dumas is a white belt in jiu-jitsu who don't know how to tie his belt. And Zach Reese, well, he got some knockouts right here. Got the submission special too. So I think submission, the fight is going to end in a finish regardless, right? I think a submission is a very realistic play here for Zach Reese, but just a full mount ground and pound TKO, I think that's probably what we're going to see here realistically. Look at the size, look at the length, look at the violence. That's what we got for you for our best bet right there, or at least for my best bet. All right, brother, listen. That was a blast, right? Lots of fun fights. As you can see here, there's a couple other good fights that we didn't even mention. Tatiana Suarez versus Amanda Lemos. Claudio Puelles versus Joaquim Silva. That's going to be a banger. Alice Paeta versus Montserrat Rendon, youngest UFC female fighter to make it happen. Tune into this card. It's going to be some good ones. But for the sake of the program, here, AJ, let's go ahead and let's close it on out to the story of the week. And the story of the week is about the former strawweight champion, Zhang Weili, moving up to fight Valentina Shevchenko at 125 pounds. She wants a shot at legacy right here. It made me wonder. I was like, how come Weili fights once a year? You know what I mean? How come there's no movement in the strawweight division? And they decided to tee it up by saying, all right, well, you know who gets to fight for the strawweight strap now? Mackenzie Dern and Vina Jandiroba. Vina Jandiroba finally gets her shot. We've been talking about her forever. You know what I mean? She finally gets her opportunity. But this is really more about 125 pounds. Shevchenko has nothing left to prove, but she gets another shot at greatness right here. Early predictions on this fight. What do you think?
Ooh, Derek, I'm going Shevchenko right off the bat. This is going to be a hard fight, man, but the Bullet has beaten a lot of really good fighters. We'll see. Who you thinking right off the bat?
You know, off rip, I want to say Weili, right? I want to, because I've already bet against Shevchenko and I've already lost. I've already been wronged by the Bullet. I should have just respected it. You know what I mean? You can't hop off the bandwagon. Listen, I think Weili is going to be too small. Like after considerable thought, I think she's going to be too small. And the reason why is because I'm like, all right, well, Shevchenko arguably to some beat Amanda Nunes. You know what I mean? Like arguably. That's a big girl right there, man. You know what I mean? Arguably, listen, controversial, all I'm saying is that if you can hang there, if the biggest threat to her, in my opinion, who was Manon Fiorot with her size and her strength, if she was able to stave her off, I don't really see Wei Li necessarily being the one who's going to be able to bully Shevchenko the way that she's able to bully these other fighters, get them into side control, put them in a crucifix. That's what Shevchenko does. That's what she does to other fighters right here. So when it comes down to striking, I think it could be a very competitive striking match, like a close competitive striking match. But when it comes down to the grappling, I don't think Wei Li will have that X factor anymore. So I'm just going to lean Shevchenko right here. But you also have to think motivation. Listen, we love the bullet, AJ, but come on, man. How much more motivated can you be? How old is she? 37. Dog. You get better. I mean, Wei Li's 36. Holy shit, she's old too. Two old broads fighting here, man, for a championship. What are we talking about?
Whoo, this is one of the don't get me wrong, Derek. I'm excited for this fight. I very want to much see this fight, but this is one of the big problems we are faced with in the UFC. Champions that are aged in their career, not fighting anybody else, only having one fight a year. And guess what? It's going to be a super fight that just holds up the rest of the division. Yeah, I mean, what are we doing? I don't know. I'm excited to see it though.
Look at that, though, man. They're on Zhang right here. You know what I mean? And that's the thing. It's like you want to look at Shevchenko and say she's old. Look at the experience. I mean, there's similar experience between the two right here. But I'm just saying, like, Shevchenko, man, that's like we've already cemented her Hall of Fame, right? Wei Li, 2-time strawweight champion. So maybe she's in the running right here. But I think Wei Li needs this win more than Shevchenko does. Would you agree? Am I out of line saying that?
No, 100%. Wei Li needs this win way more. It really seems like there's a lot more tire on the wheels of Wei Li that are left for her UFC career. I know they're similar in age, but we've seen Valentina Shevchenko do it all, beat it all. Like, she is the bullet. She has the name. Like Derek said, she's going to be in the Hall of Fame here shortly. And if she beats Wei Li, it's like, oh, well, yeah, you're supposed to. Like, she's a younger girl. She the smaller girl basically has the exact same fight style as you. Yeah, you're bigger and better. You should be able to beat her. So there's not really much for it. Doesn't really cement a legacy. It just kind of a nothing really fight right here. So it makes it interesting to why it's happening, but I'm excited to watch it nonetheless.
Yep. Nope. That's fair. All right, folks. Well, hey, listen, that's been your card breakdown. That was your story of the week. That's all that we got for you. Until next time, folks. Peace.